grow too. I was just emailing him with this week. I'm doing a animated series about medicinal mushrooms, and I want to have each episode be about a different mushroom, and I want him to, like, fact check me, maybe be a guest narrator. And he heard what I had to say, and it was well received. So he said he wants to support.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how what comes out of that. So yeah, I've been following Paul for quite a while. I love his stories.
Me too. Especially the one of him being in that huge pine tree in the middle of the storm with what was it, Amanita muscaria?
Yeah.
He had taken, he kept dropping everything.
Yeah. Oh man. And yeah, when he climbed that tree, it was so crazy.
Wow, you're perfect. You're the perfect blend of
Thanks.
you're the perfect blend of anti-government and liking Paul Stamets. So like, there's something for both of us here, for me and Mike.
That's amazing.
And I know how to grow food, and I'm an excellent cook. So my husband, yeah, he thinks I'm perfect. I'm perfect for him.
There you go.
He's very much. We grew up 2 hours away from each other, and really, I think we weren't supposed to meet until later. We've only been married 8 years, but I think we weren't supposed to meet until we had gotten all of our bullshit out of the way with other husbands and wives and all kinds of stuff, to where it could just be us.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, it's wonderful. He's my best friend, and he tells me all the time, nobody but you could understand this.
Yeah.
Talking about his life.
Yeah.
He's been microdosing for a while, and oh my God, it speaks volumes about the help that mushrooms can give someone. He's a high anxiety person. I'm a super chill person. I go in and I just think about everything. But he gets very anxious, and he has benefited so much from microdosing.
That's really amazing.
It's truly medicine. It's truly medicine. People, I'm in an industry where people talk about the medicine, and let's face it, it can be medicine for some and just fun for others. But mushrooms are God food. That's what we call it.
God food. I like that.
That's great. I've never heard that before, actually.
Yeah, never.
So Mel, could you actually tell us how you found us, or how we found you?
From the I'm in several mushroom groups, and you had just put out a call about anybody who wanted to share their experience. And at first, I thought, well, it's kind of a personal thing, but it was so good. It was me, my husband, and my son on a beautiful sunny day here at the farm, and the experience, I think, is worth sharing, just because there are a lot of people out there who, like I was, afraid of them initially. And, the whole legality thing, the whole, that didn't bother me. I didn't care about that. But it was just, I'm already a very psychosensitive person, and I have very, very amazing experiences just in waking life. And I thought, hell, if I do mushrooms, I'll lose my mind. But of course, it's not true. And when I saw that you wanted to see if people wanted to share their experiences, I thought, I'm going to go ahead and just see, because maybe there'll be someone who has had the same fears I had, and perhaps can have the same benefit, which was huge.
Yeah, I actually heard you talking about how, one of the reasons you want to share is to, let people know about your experiences. So that's one. And that's,
it's not for everyone. But like you and I talked about, the mushroom calls you.
Right.
When and the timing is always perfect, even if you don't think it is. With our situation, my son arrived for a visit. He's almost 30. He's 29 this year, and he's just the most amazing person. I mean, he's my son, but we're really close, like best friends.
Nice.
Because I've never hidden anything from him. I was the first person he smoke a joint with,
Wow.
you know. And it wasn't that I was trying to be the cool mom. It's just that it all unfurled in such a way that it was time. And I said, this is something that I do because I get to have a faster way to go connect with that outside dimension, that higher dimension. That is my intention. I don't do anything without intention. And my intention way back then was to have an opportunity to share with my son that this you can do, and it will give you insights. If you set that intention, you'll get them. You'll get answers to questions. You'll get a whole new world. So I don't see it as, oh my God, I got my son on drugs. It was nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Herb is a blessing. It is a blessing. It happens to be a very fun blessing, but it's a blessing nonetheless. So how this all happened was my son had come in for a visit, and he and my husband get along really well. They're really close, and it just happened to have some albinos with him. And he said, while I'm visiting, I'm gonna go out into the fields. I'm gonna go up under the trees, and I'm gonna do this. And I said, okay, great. What about me and Will? He said, oh, are you ready? And I said, I think the time is now, and this is the presentation of, hey, come on, this is the invitation. And I can't even remember what time we started. It was a beautiful, sunshiny day, a cool breeze. My son had set up a tent in one of the fields, and I had put a rug out, and we had a little fire over to the side going. And then there wasn't much discussion. It was just like, okay, we're doing this. And we put him in a Ninja with some pineapple juice and took shots. And then I said to myself, okay, I'm going to have to mentally prepare myself because I know that I have a little bit of fear here. So I'm going to mentally prepare myself by just trying to say a prayer of protection and get my head in the right space. And it didn't take long before, let's just say I laughed the entire time. I had the happy times.
Yeah, best.
Yes, the laughter began. But as I said, I did everything with intention. My intention with doing this was to go deep into the gunk that's still kind of stuck, personality stuff, ego bullshit, all of that. I wanted to just clear it, but because I set such a happy intention, I think it was an incredible spiritual experience. Now, my son and I are laughing. We are in pure bliss. He walks out into the field about 300 yards from me, but we're still having a conversation saying, I can see everything. I can see the crystal grid all around me. I can see everything. And he was doing the same. And I told him, I think I'm okay now. I think I'm not afraid to go and just let this go deeply. However, I'm looking over at my husband. He's going to get so mad when I say this. He did not have a good time with his reaction. He was on all fours, screaming like a banshee. I would try to go closer to her. I was like, get the fuck away from me! Oh And I laughed. I mean, I laughed because I just saw what was really going on is just that he was going to process a lot of old junk. He was going to do that, and this was the beginning of it. And so I just said, "Yes, I'll leave you to it. I'm going to go do my thing." My son and I, were able to, we've seen this together before, just the matrix of what is. But this time we saw it on a level that I'd never seen it before. The love that was there between me and my son was, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, was sliding along the crystal grid rays out into the world. And we were receiving and we were sending at the same time. This incredible love. This is really getting emotional just thinking about it. Just remembering it, it's giving me chills.
Sure.
And I'm sorry, I tend to talk a lot, so you just jump in and ask me all the questions.
No, this is actually a riveting story. This is actually amazing. And it's funny because the last guests, the couple that we had, they reported the same kind of things of pouring love into one another and also receiving love.
Every cell in your body being filled with love is one way they described it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it showed me something about myself because I'm a pretty chill person now, but there were long periods of my life where I was just very, very lost because I did not fit in to regular anything. Not that I was just a complete outcast, but I just called bullshit on everything from an early age, and because I was very vocal about that, it tended to kind of keep me at arm's length from the people I grew up with. My family, a bunch of Republicans. Need I say more? And they're just very, very different. Very straight-laced people, and so it's been difficult to have the guts in front of your family who loves you in spite of everything. It's been difficult to just go ahead and say, I don't think that because mushrooms are illegal, that is the end of this story. I think this is God food that has been purposely and intentionally kept from us to keep us dependent upon all of the crap pharmaceuticals that are out there that do nothing. I mean, it's just, okay, so what makes more sense financially to keep people addicted to pharmaceuticals that are palliative and just really do nothing but just kind of keep the lid on, or let people have access to this God food that clears addiction, anxiety, all these different things. It's not financially feasible for the government to give us this. But as we see already, that's changing. Denver, different places are getting on board. It's kind of going too slowly for my liking, but at least there is movement. There is movement coming this way.
I'm surprised how far we've come.
I know, it's kind of shocking. But I'm from that generation. I never expected to see a black president. I never expected, not that I'm a Democrat, I'm really more of a libertarian, but that one thing, I think, opened up a lot of possibilities. Because when you think about how we as a culture, we have this big kind of umbrella operating system, and there's you, Michael, and you're a different thinker, and there's a bunch of sheep who kind of just do what they're told to do, And then there are all these different people who kind of pop up in these iterations. You say, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. And so in 2012, which was a big, heavy year for us anyway, because from my lifestyle, I'm really into megalithic structures. I don't, it's a whole other ball of wax, but I'm really into the fact that we are not the pinnacle of civilization by a long shot. We think we are because, we have cell phones and wireless, but we are not the pinnacle of civilization. And circling back to the mushroom trip, that was part of the information. I was shown so many things. Oh my gosh. I was seeing the awakening of people changing their minds, and that this, like an M&M has this candy coated shell on the outside, and I started to see our culture that started to crack.
Yeah.
And as it cracked, more information about who we are, where we came from, started to be shown to me on this huge scale. We get to be everything.
Mm.
We get to be everything. Because people who have kind of woken to reincarnation, they think, oh, I've been here a couple of times, and oh, I'm ready to get off this planet. Everything on this planet in 3D is about one thing, and it's not even religious or anything. It is experience. We are here to experience everything that it means to be in this dimension. And I mean not just Michael or Mel, I mean what it means to be plant life, what it means to be soil, what it means to be a table. I know that sounds far reaching, but I saw it all. I saw it all. Time and gosh, my brain is kind of backing up my mouth here, but because there's so much behind it, there's so much behind it.
Of course.
All time is now. All time is now. Mushrooms, finally, I've been hearing that for years, but this particular mushroom trip actually explained that to me, how all time is now.
So you heard it from like a couple other people, and then you actually heard it from the mushroom, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the last 30 years, I've had a really wonderful group of people around me. When I'm from Texas, you might can tell. I'm from Texas, and I had this wonderful group of people around me. Before I married my husband and came to Oklahoma, I had a wonderful group of people. I mean, they were fringe people, all kinds, but I learned something from everyone. Some people who were really into alien beings, some people who were really into government conspiracy, people who were into, Zen, the whole thing. I picked up something from everyone, and it's like when I consumed those mushrooms and the laughter kind of settled down, it's like all of a sudden all the information that I've been collecting all these decades started to be stitched together with the truth.
Yeah.
As truth for me, you see what I mean? And it was just so beautiful that I wanted to cry so badly. I wanted tears to release, but there was so much joy. The tears wouldn't come for a long time. And then I remembered to ask questions. And so I said, why can't I cry? And the answer was, you are an energetic match for what is happening right now. Tears happen when you are not an energetic match, and it's the body's way of adjusting. And so I said,
wow.
Cool, that's great.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I just have so much to tell about that particular thing that it will not hurt my feelings if you just jump in and ask me a question. I don't want to be too bossy.
I'm still stuck on what you just said. I'm like thinking about that in my head. I'm like, yeah, every time I've cried, yeah, it's like it kind of brings me
out. Yes, that's an energetic leveling up. It's your body adjusting to that frequency, especially like you have tears of joy.
Yeah.
Or even tears of pain. Whatever reason that you're crying, your body is kind of squeezing and adjusting to that frequency. And I don't want to say it was just all a huge download. It wasn't. It lasted a very long time because it was my first dose, my husband's first dose, not my son's first. But somehow we messed up the scale.
Uh-oh.
So for my first dose, I did 8 grams.
Oh my God!
Wow!
Oh my God!
We have a veteran in the house.
That is how you tell a story. Jesus! In my head, because I was thinking about that as you were telling the story.
Yeah, me too.
And in my head, I'm like, wow, man, these people have such great experiences with just 2 or 3 grams, man. I'm like, it's nuts.
You're definitely
I should have said that in the beginning.
Wow.
I thought I was taking 3. The heroic dose being 5.
Yeah.
I thought I was taking 3, but no one had teared the scale.
Oh my God. That's the best.
Wow.
So it was, and my husband, God bless him, took 10.
Oh, that's why he was screaming on all fours. Of course.
Well, but for my first dose of,
for his first time.
You had asked me if I had other things I had done. When I was 17 years old, I was in a car with 3 other girls. And this one girl handed me this little piece of paper. She said, stick this in your mouth when I say so. I didn't hear when I say so. So the first time I ever took acid, I took a whole hit of purple microdot.
Oh my God.
And had no frame of reference, nothing.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
And this was I was young and just a completely naive goober, and the girls with me, the saving grace was one of them looked at me and said, where's that piece of paper I told you to hold? And I said, I put it in my mouth like you said. And she goes, oh crap. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. You're gonna be okay. So she intentionally set me up to, look at the pretty colors,
Yeah.
So she set it up for me to not, but I mean, I just remember the next morning it's still going on, and I'm watching a Star Wars cartoon with Wookiees, and they're telling me, you're fine. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just sit back and relax. And I mean, it's been going on for hours and hours.
Keep talking to Mike. I'm a rookie. I got to go to the washroom.
No.
I've never had to go to the washroom during a podcast.
So, yeah, no, you're doing a really good job at like articulating and describing experiences that I like. I kind of resonate and share. We are everything, and almost everything you described. And for me, like, I find words to be inadequate, and you're kind of getting pretty close, and I'm loving it.
I am an English major. Books were my first love. And one thing I can say that mushrooms have done for my husband, he's a tangible kind of guy in a lot of ways. He's an electrician. He draws a bead on something, and he's like this.
Right.
But mushrooms have given him words to describe experiences now in a much clear away. You know, we've talked about this. For 2 days afterwards, we really didn't speak about it because it was so intense. And then the words came, and he was able to say why he was on all fours screaming. He was in all the pain that he had pushed down over the decades.
Right.
And he was swimming in it. And it was horrible. It was horrible for him. But again, setting intention to alleviate that stuff, or at least try to understand it, get a new perspective. My son was instrumental in talking him through all of that, saying, this is just pain that you've pushed down over the years. You really don't need it anymore, do you?
Mm-hmm.
You it? No. Okay, we'll just let it go. Let it go.
Sounds like a guide.
He was the guide. He had to do a double duty because, he's like, oh my gosh, here's my mom, who I love. I don't want her to have anything, but I'm just running around, barefoot in the grass, just feeling connected to everything. And so he would kind of concentrate on Will and say, you're fine. You're okay. This is just a thing. This is just an experience. So if it weren't for him, things could have been a lot different.
Right.
If I had to deal with Will by myself, just the two of us, even though he is my best friend and my love of my life, I would have been hard pressed to keep it together and him at the same time.
Right. Well, thank you for that insight. I'm gonna have to tread carefully when I bother to.
Right?
Oh yes. And see, think about 10 years ago, the stigma of saying, hey, I want to do mushrooms with my dad.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Here we are in 2020. Don't you feel like now there's a lot less stigma? Don't you feel like the information is getting out there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, as more people like you share these stories, like more people like him, like been up to it.
Yeah, that's very true.
This whole podcast is one big ploy to get parents to do.
So wonderful.
Talking to you, Mom.
Because your dad and you have things to discuss.
Yep.
Yeah.
That the mushrooms will give you the frequency for that, the words, the understanding, because it's a compassionate thing, a loving thing to want your father to experience God food.
Right, of course. You don't want him to I don't want him to get high or go out of his mind. I just want to share that experience. It's something that words are usually inadequate to explain, so it's so difficult to get people to take that plunge.
Exactly. So that's why I'm doing this with you, is that I want people to see that it is an act of love. It's not a heinous criminal activity. It is an act of love. And, I wouldn't give it to a child because they don't have any frame of reference. But, and I don't know what the age of reason really is. I certainly wouldn't advocate giving it to anyone under, 15 or so. Just even though in some cultures they do. That's one thing I've been finding out. Is just the pervasiveness of mushrooms in cultures all over the world.
One culture, it's 6 years old.
I think it's a matter of maturity. So if they do have that frame of reference, and you can tell if they do, and they say, I want to do this, and these are my reasons, then they're all of a sudden old enough, and that could be at any age. It's just a number as we.
Exactly. Because it is a tool for waking up, and if your culture uses it as a tool, as like, there are Indian tribes in the Amazon that may not be mushrooms. It may be another powdered substance, or even ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is, I think, given to very young people in the Amazon, but
Yeah.
it's because in their culture, it's just part of leveling up. It's not criminal activity.
Right.
It's them leveling up,
Right.
teaching. They're teaching people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you were saying before, you can use the tool for fun, or you can for growth. To teach you some lessons.
My husband, has been doing the microdosing. I more so than I have. I have, but until we have some spore prints that he took and everything, but until we get another batch going, this past 2 weeks, I have kind of let him do the microdosing, and he has had the best attitude through this whole coronavirus thing. You take a really anxious person and you give them a pandemic, that's not a good combo.
Right.
Yeah.
But he has done so well. It's renewed his connection to his faith that everything's going to be okay. Whereas if he hadn't been microdosing, he would have been having a really hard time
For sure.
through this. Because when you tell somebody, okay, you can't go to work, he's a workaholic. He is a working man. He's tall, skinny, work. When you tell him he can't work, that's not, that does not compute. And all the fear arises of, how do I provide? We have 5 dogs that I cook for every day. They are spoiled rotten. Where are we going to, what are we going to do? Have to go, kill all the chickens to feed the dogs? These irrational thoughts start.
Yeah.
Microdosing has kept him calm. It's kept him focused on the positive, which is not always easy.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for them, because in a pandemic, your mind immediately starts going to all the movies we've seen where zombies are coming out of the woodwork eating everyone, and or there's just nothing. When I was little, there was a Twilight Zone episode that stuck in my head, and it just branded itself here. And it starred Joseph Campanella, who was a really good actor back in the day. And it was called Soylent. Well, it wasn't Soylent Green, but it was like Soylent Green. Soylent Green was from the Charlton Heston Omega Man movie.
Yeah.
He's like one of the last ones and everything. And this particular episode was about the food is gone. How are you going to feed your family? You live in a city. And it was atrocious because he ended up eating an arm. And so as a small child, that really messed with my head. It really messed with my head. And it really planted a seed of, oh shit, what do we do when there's nothing? Unfortunately, my mother kind of fostered that and talked about that a lot. Oh, we got to be prepared. And this is a woman who's really sweet and kind-hearted, but she's got gallons of water up under her house. It's just, her planning for the apocalypse is to put extra Velveeta in the pantry. She has very different ideas about what can happen. But she kind of fostered that as we were growing up. Yeah, you got to be prepared. Now, here she is. She lives in a small town, but I'm the one with chickens and a garden and well water, and we're about to do solar big time out here. And she's now looking to me like, oh, I'll just come stay with you.
Well, I mean, she could bring her water,
That's fine, but you're going to have some mushrooms before you do.
Oh, wow. That's actually a smart idea, You have a farm, and if people want to come, they have to do mushrooms first just to get the evil out of them.
Just to get them in the right frame of mind, just to get rid of the junk that's all there.
You mind if I ask you, just back to your first trip, your son did it too. Do you have any idea how much he did?
my husband both did 10 grams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like it, and he just rolled over to her house like, "Hey, I'm just gonna do this under the tree."
Was that his first time, your son?
No.
I'm sorry, was it his first time?
Yeah.
No, it was not his first time. As far as I know it was the first time he had done that much.
Right.
I think he had microdosed a little bit just to kind of,
Yeah.
how it went. But it was phenomenal for him too. I mean, he unpacked stuff for days afterwards, and we were on the phone. He lives in Florida right now, but he had been up for a visit, and he said that even the trip driving home or back to Florida, he could see the cell of every leaf and blade of grass, and it was all singing to him praises and joy.
Wow.
And then it still continued to unpack and everything. And he did have some weird things, like there was a lot of running around. I live out here on 5 acres in the country, so I felt like, we're okay. My neighbors are all old. If they see me running around naked and everything, they'll be like, no big deal. That's just Mel. But thank God that didn't happen. But, we were outside enjoying the connection to the nature. But he did have some things like he had a time where he thought Will and I were laughing at him in a negative way.
Mm.
And I said, well, what did we say? And he said, you said this, 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 this. I said, honey, Will and I were in bed with just lay down to rest here inside because it got really hot and humid outside. So we come inside and we had laid down for a while, and Asa was in a totally other room, and he thought he saw us come to him and say these things to him that we did not say. And then he said, okay. Then it was just a demon trying to upset me.
Yeah.
And that's how he interpreted it, was that demons looked like us. And I mean, I don't want to scare anyone by saying that, but you have to remember he was on 10 grams.
No, to what you're saying, that's actually an actual thing. I've sat with a lot of like energy healers and stuff like that, and they talk about like in the dream state in like this other realm. I don't know what you'd call it. Let's just say realm 3. But these things will come to you like your loved ones and say really fucked up things to you, and it's supposed to.
Yes, that happened to him.
Yeah, it's supposed to unground
my heart so much because my love for him is limitless, and it really, and my husband, just adores him too, and so it really hurt me that happened. But I was glad that he understood that it was not me. At the time that was going on, I remember because I wasn't moving very much because I was processing in my mind the underpinnings of the matrix that we live in, and I would start to think, oh my goodness, what a fantastic revelation this is. And then before the thought even completed itself, I would start laughing because it was so futile. It was so pointless. It was ridiculous. And so I'm sitting there, thinking hard.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't even matter. And that showed me, there are tons of people in this world, and I've got a very good friend who is an intellectual. He fancies himself. He is an intellectual. He's very educated, very, very smart man. Worked for the Pentagon. Totally interesting stories coming out of that dude. Let me tell you right now.
Oh yeah.
And his heart is failing. He is in very, very, very poor health. And I called him the other day. Well, it was actually about a month ago, and I said, "You do realize that your heart is failing you because you've always chosen intellect over your heart.
Mm.
And he got really quiet. He said, holy shit, you're right.
Yeah.
And I said, but it's not too late. It's not too late. Mushrooms will show you so many things. And there are similarities, veins of similarity that run through experiences that I think that one of the biggest messages is you cannot live in your head and your thoughts because the ego lies to you like a son of a bitch. And you have to
Right.
you have to let that go, and you have to lead with your heart and even your sacral area. Your gut is your reptilian brain. It knows more about what's going on in your world than your mind does. And if you want to say that's science, that's science. I mean, I see it as truth. So when I told him that he's always, if there's a dichotomy between head and heart, and he's always fancies himself as I mean, he's a real two. Very, very well read, and he and I have a love book, so we talk a lot. And I'm already seeing him letting go of that. If I could give him mushrooms to help him clear that, I would, but his heart is really so unstable right now. I wouldn't want to do anything, it might be too much for him at this point.
Yeah, right. Yeah. How old is he? Is he like much older?
Yeah, he's like 74.
Yeah.
74. And he's experienced a lot of stuff. I just pray for him. My way of praying is not, oh dear Lord, please give us what we need in this time. That's bullshit. That is a bullshit way to pray. Prayer is all about connecting with that person and seeing them in health and wholeness. Health and wholeness. You're sending a picture in through the universe of this person being happy, healthy, whole. And that is more of a beneficial prayer than sitting there begging for something to be delivered to you, because you have it already. You have it already. It's just removing the illusion of health, of ill health. He could heal himself with changing his mind. But at this point, he's kind of older, and even though he talks to me about these things and he finds it intriguing, he's not at that point where he could accept it and maybe accept it as truth.
Yeah. I love my mom, but this would be a great mom to have. You'd be fantastic. Oh
I have a lot of adopted children. I do.
I'm sure.
I have a couple of people. Just because I wasn't always the best mom, it took me years to be able to say that out loud. I wasn't. I was trapped in the bullshit lies of the Matrix, and very unhappy for many, many years. And it took almost losing my relationship with my son, which thank God we had a family safety net that kind of caught that and enabled him to be very well taken care of, with my family, while I was trying to get over my anger and my frustration with everything. And I got on my hands and knees, not my hands and knees, but just I broke down to complete and utter humbleness with my son and said, I have not been sane for many years, and I have treated you less than you deserve, and I beg your forgiveness. And That's what enabled me to have the relationship that I have with my son now, where we talk about everything straight up. After that, it was no bullshit.
Yeah.
If I had
Powerful.
if I had an opinion about how the world was working, I kind of laid it out for him, and I said, "You make your own decision. This is what I see or how I see it." So I didn't push anything on him, but I humbled myself in the face of love.
Wow. That's amazing. So this
Well,
was before you did
it worked.
mushrooms. This is before you did mushrooms, right? When you went to him like this?
I'm sorry?
This was before you did mushrooms when you went to him like this?
Oh, yes. This was years ago. Years ago.
So
He's 29 now.
so you're
Yeah,
you're a very open person already.
Well, it's worked because why do you want to raise children in a lie if you know it's a lie? Asa is like me in a lot of ways. I mean, he's very talkative. He's very gregarious. I mean, he never meets a stranger. He pulls music out of the ether. He taught himself to play piano. He just sat down and just did it. One of his best friends is in a rock band that's kind of blowing up now, and he looked at Matt, and it's that Black Top Mojo, by the way. And when they came to Dallas and opened for Bon Jovi, I saw Ace's wheels turning, and he's like, "I could do that." So he taught himself guitar, and he sings beautifully, plays guitars, writes songs. I mean, he's just that kid. He's just that person that doesn't put a lot of limits on himself.
Yeah.
So if I could say one thing about parents and kids and how mushrooms can come into this, is that you can use it as a tool to wipe away all the dark, shadowy things that keep you from having a true connection with your kids. Asa is so interesting because I tell him, if you want to do something, go do it. Go do it. Don't worry about what other people think. You know how a lot of people in these times, they're just really too afraid to say what's on their mind. Well, I don't know. Maybe not your friends. I think your friends are pretty open. But whoa! I think I just knocked everything down. I think mushrooms can help people do that. That if we get more legalization in this country, we can get rid of Zoloft and all those pharmaceuticals. We can have people build their relations back to where they need to be. We've had this, back to the conspiracy thing, we've had the family unit disintegrated very much on purpose. Very much on purpose.
Yeah.
And it takes two people working to raise kids, and then they've got somebody else raising their kids, and all this, and the grandparents get stuck in an old folks home where they just drool on themselves and are forgotten. That was not the way before.
Divide and conquer.
It is. It's divide and conquer. You're absolutely right. And I think mushrooms could really go a long way into bringing us back into family cohesion.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. If you can just, it's a lot of convincing. I don't think I'd have to do much convincing, but a lot of my other friends, it's like near impossible. I mean, what did our not the last guest, but Ryan? He's like, why would I even consider bringing that up to my parents?
Right.
He's like, they're not doing it. He's like, nope, it's not happening.
Because his parents have a lot of hang-ups that are making them unhappy, because everyone can smell that something ain't right.
Yeah.
But it's whether or not you have the guts to go deeper and find out what's not right.
This is This is gonna turn into a conspiracy podcast slowly,
Oh,
and
man.
I'm fine with it,
Yay!
and I'm fine with it. But Mike's not gonna want it to turn
We're
into
walking
that.
the line.
Yeah, right.
Talking about mushrooms, and
Yeah.
other things start to come up because
Yeah.
answers,
Well,
right?
it's integrated. It's integrated. The way, the tool to combat all of these things, which are all coming to light. I mean, it's happening. It's happening. Hollywood pedophilia is finally coming to. I remember just even a year ago, I said something about Pizzagate. And some of my friends are like, "What are you talking about?" Like, how do you not know this? How do you not know this? Oklahoma is very different from Texas. In Texas, I had a lot of people who were very open-minded and everything. In Oklahoma, everybody just leaves you the hell alone, which I love.
That's good.
Just stay out of your business, These are people who, their parents or their grandparents survived the Dust Bowl, where your whole house was full of dust and your food was covered in dust,
Wow.
and your whole life was about trying to clean the dust off of your plate so you could eat.
Really?
Never knew that.
Tough people.
What
Tough people. And they want to be left alone, and they'll pretty much leave you alone if you don't mess with them.
What is that?
Oklahoma
Oklahoma.
has a different mindset.
What is that? The Dust Bowl? What happened that happened?
Dust Bowl.
The Dust Bowl.
Well, I won't go into it too much because there are excellent documentaries about it, but I will just tell you it was a time in the 30s where soil erosion in this state and others, but mainly Oklahoma, got so bad that we turned into a dust desert.
Oh, okay.
And it was horrible, and there was a huge migration of Okies, which was a negative term,
Yes.
from Oklahoma to California, and here you get all these hayseed, uneducated, but hardworking, good people who flooded California looking for work, and they set up it's just like the little tent cities that you see in LA now, but it was 90 years ago.
Wow.
And it was a really horrible thing. Look it up sometime because it tells a lot about this state and the way people are here. This is why people kind of, they help their neighbors, but they're not going to get in their business.
Right.
Really tough people who've withstood a lot of horrible stuff.
All right.
Plus the whole Indian thing, but that's another story.
See that is. I'm gonna start a conspiracy podcast, and I'll have you on. You'll be one of my first guests.
I'm down. I am so down.
A match made in heaven.
Yeah, right.
My thing is, I've done a lot of work with history revision. That's my biggest conspiracy thing, is that our true history as a species has been totally covered up, and an agenda has been laid upon it.
Wait.
I am.
We can't.
I am a megalithic structure person.
We can't go too deep into
I am
it.
from the ancient builder race.
Hold on.
There's so much. There's so
so
much.
There's so much.
And I know about everything that you're talking about, but we have to get back to mushrooms.
We have another guest in an hour, actually.
Yeah.
Let's for another day.
Just I want to know, because you said that was your first time taking it. When was that?
Yes.
Was that like a few years ago, a few months ago?
Oh no, it was last summer.
Wow.
Fresh.
Look at you.
Sharing so soon. Something so personal.
So she is like the pinnacle of like what we're looking for in terms of parents. Like you turned the leaf
She's
and
a
you said,
trailblazer.
yeah, and you're like, let me just try this with my son. That's.
I don't see myself as a trailblazer, but I know that the more just people will talk, because you cannot judge a book by its cover. I'm just a regular person. I go to Walmart and do my shopping. And if you see me, I mean, I've got a Sturgill Simpson t-shirt on, but that's like the most out there thing about me right now. If I go and talk to people, let me tell you, that's where you find the most mundane, everyday 6 and 7 people. They all have these incredible stories, and you would never guess it. So it's good that you ask people these questions and that you get them to share, because just looking on the surface, you wouldn't think that I did, 8 grams of albinos and trip for 12 and a half hours.
Nope.
Was
that's why we're
and
creating this space.
Was it 12 and a half hours?
To the time that I was able to absolutely settle down, because I expected 3 or 4, but it was about 12 and a half hours before, and it was days before I was quote unquote normal.
Yeah, before it leaves you.
Because I was floating in a cloud of bliss for days. Just
right.
The change, the experience changes you on such a level that you don't come back to the same world, because you're different.
Mm-hmm.
And who the hell doesn't want to be different? We have so many yucky things that are just kind of piled on top of us in our everyday life. Who doesn't want to get all that cleared out and be free in your heart? Yes, it's fun to see the crystal bridge shining in front of you and how information is exchanged from a tree to the birds that are in it. Yeah, that's amazing. And that's cool. But that's scary to people who can't let go.
Yes, definitely.
They're afraid. There's so much fear. And so the whole point of me doing this is be aware of what can happen. Set the intention of having a wonderful time and finding, a happy place. Start off happy. That's half of it. And then whatever your experience is, just know that in a couple of hours, you're going to be okay.
Right.
Most people have heard, as my generation especially, oh my God, if you do that, you're going to try to fly out of a 10-story high window.
Yeah, jump out a window or whatever.
No, you are not. Mm-hmm. Unless you're insane to start with, and I can't help you with that. But if you decide, like the way my son and I communicate, we are so far apart on the grass that yet I looked at him and we were reading each other's minds. We were communicating. We were talking to each other. I was like, do you need help with Will? No, he's going to be okay. Are you okay? Yeah, Mom, I'm doing great. I'm great. I'm feeling great. We had that conversation.
Did you go back after and ask about that conversation?
Oh, yes, because we talked about it the next day, sharing all the different things. And then that's when he had told me about that scary situation of, this demonic doppelganger or whatever. So yeah, we talked about it. We still talk about it. I mean, like I said, it's still unpacked for several days afterwards. So he would just call me and say, you know what else I thought of, or I saw, or I experienced, and he would tell me more. And I think it unlocked his musical desire. I think something kind of.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
And that's awesome. I mean, think about what music is anyway. What is music?
Sonics, sound.
It's frequency.
Yes.
It's frequency. And who are the people who can manipulate that frequency very, very well? People who have risen up, That's a whole other thing you can talk about, just, the way musical people are in this world, and so many wonderful people have died because they can't reconcile, or they couldn't reconcile, being a higher frequency being with all this beautiful musical ability and living in this shitty 3D world.
Yeah, they do say that is why a lot of high intelligent, high creative people are like that, always doing drugs and stuff, because they just can't handle, like, in their sober form, they just have too much going through them all the time to deal with it properly.
Yeah.
So they just
They
turned
get
to
burned.
yeah. So they turned to drugs and stuff like that.
My mom saw our last episode, and this is really interesting. But she's like, I don't think the mushrooms are calling me though, and I'm like, yeah, I totally feel that, but like maybe when your son's doing a podcast about mushrooms, maybe that means they're calling you. I'm not sure.
True. How true is that, right?
I was wondering what you guys thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, when Asa came in with those things, I mean, we had not talked about it. He did not tell me he had them. He just was in my kitchen, and of course, I'm trying to make him something to eat, and he pulls out this big gallon baggie and goes, "Look what I brought."
It's crazy.
He did not have an intention of me and Will doing them. He just thought he was going to go off on the property, like a little spot in the back, and do his thing and pitch his tent and be okay.
Oh, okay. See, I think you don't see it. See, we're younger, so we know that was his plan.
That was the plan.
His plan was
Oh,
like,
that was his
I'm just
plan.
gonna bring him in. I'm just gonna show him. And show one. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
that
not doing
sounds like
anything. She's not doing anything.
You guys
She'll
can't
do it.
have these. These aren't for you. Yeah, like hell.
I'm certainly glad he did. I'm certainly glad he did, and I'm glad that I was ready, that it was the right time. And it didn't look like the right time for Will, but it ended up being the right time for Will. And there was one other little thing I was going to remember to tell you, something about when you start coming down, I thought, oh, I'm going to want to do these all the time. And when I started coming down, it was like, I just lived my 3D life better. It wasn't until all this election stuff started really, or not election stuff, but let's just say political stuff, started really getting to me, that I started microdosing because I needed something to alleviate the anxiety. And the good news for all the parents out there, the good news is that you can microdose. You're not tripping balls. You're not seeing stuff. You're just happier and better equipped to deal with anxiety and frustration, whatever's going on in your life that's kind of bothering you. You don't have to be, seeing all this incredible stuff. Most people don't realize, well, I say most people like I know, I don't know. But it seems to me that most people would think, who haven't taken mushrooms, that microdosing is just like staying high all the time. Well, it's not.
No.
It's just, it's very therapeutic, and it's so helpful. My husband is the prime example of that. He has been really dealing with himself in a much more positive way by microdosing. And I recommend it to people, even if you never want to take, the heroic dose and go see this stuff. Microdosing will feed your brain and clear out the clutter of anxiety. And that's the reason it needs to be legalized.
I'm actually wondering what your microdosing regimen is.
Since we got so messed up on the measurement on the scale that we had, I just decided to do I pull like a 2-inch stretch of cap. However, that's a microdose for me. However, it's all about the mushroom and what's in it.
Right.
So some days are a little stronger than others.
Yep.
One day, my husband microdosed, and he came home from work. He's like, I did too much.
Yep.
Oh my God. I've had the weirdest day just trying to hold on.
Yeah.
So what if, and so you got to be careful. And I think if you measured it exactly, like a quarter, a tenth of a gram or whatever, if you measured it exactly, you still are going to get different results.
Bigger, higher days and lower days, so to speak, even with a tenth of a gram.
Yeah, and it's your body chemistry and it's what's in the mushroom, but I think you can do 1/10 of a gram and be really safe.
Yeah, you might have a heightened moment for like 20 minutes, but then you'd go back to.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, I use the one Paul Stamets was talking about, where he mentions like lion's mane seems to be similar to psilocybin. So,
yes.
So I'd like to mix a couple grams of lion's mane with 0.1 of psilocybin, and then I put some niacin in there, which helps with the flesh. Gets those compounds to where they need to be, and that's what I've been doing.
That's an excellent formula.
I do like 3 days on and 4 days off, or vice versa sometimes. How about you? What's your frequency? Is it every day or?
I haven't done in 2 weeks. I think my husband wants to grow. He was very good at producing. We had 3 flushes of golden teachers that he did.
Wow.
That came out excellent. He has a gift for doing that. These are golden teachers that he grew, that we are microdosing now, but we're running low on them. And so until he does another tub, I'm going to do like just as needed. I would like to do them every day, but right now I'm not, just because I want to give him enough to make it through the growth time for the new tub.
Yeah, keep him on cloud 9.
He's a hardworking man. He works his ass off, and he's very good at what he does, and he has to deal with a lot of pressure. So I want him to have the medicine, whereas I'm here at home, growing weeds. So I don't have the pressure he does.
Well, this has been amazing.
Yeah, this has been really good. Thank you so much for doing this and for having that time with your son. I mean, a lot of parents are so adverse to it, so I know it doesn't impact me in any way, but thank you for doing that.
And thanks for coming out of the mushroom closet to share your experience with us.
We got that from Danny.
Yes. May it speak to people who have a lot of fear about it. We got to dispel that so that we can kind of move forward with it all, and everybody can have access to it, because I think it's really important. It is God food.
Yes.
And we can't wait to have you on the show again sometime as your journey
continues. We'll talk about mudfloods and megalithic structures.
Well, what we're going to talk about is your next hero dose, because from the sounds of it, you haven't done another one since, so you definitely have to talk after that.
Keep us posted, Hopefully we can come out to you next time.
I will be doing another one with my son. He's supposed to be moving to this area to help me with the grow business at some point. So when he comes again, there will be another.
And hopefully we can interview you in person next time when all this is over.
Yeah, right.
When all this is over. Gosh, I'm saying that way too much.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Mel,
thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Be well.
You too. Be blessed.